All right, hi, this is Dan Henk. Welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. And how do we pronounce your name? I want to make sure I get it right.
David Boop, just like Betty Boop, but with a David.
So, all right, so my guest is David Booth.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right, man, so let's talk about what you got going on.
I'm on a book tour right now. Earlier this year, I released a mosaic novel that I worked with several other authors to create. It is called Permutations, a Well-World mosaic novel, and it's based on the works of the late Jack L. Chalker, who wrote a book called Midnight of the Well of Souls. I actually have a copy of it right here. And we did something kind of creative, something not a lot of people do. Instead of just your standard anthology, because we're reintroducing Well World to a lot of people. Jack died in it was like 2007, somewhere around there. That he's not a lot of people still know him, but he was a very influential author to me when I got started. So I got a bunch of his friends and actually one of the members of his family to write stories. Well World is a place that think of it as a planet that is the petri dish that omnipotent aliens created all the races of the universe at. You know, they create these little hexes called cosms, and they design an alien and a landscape and everything. And if it works, they take it and then they create a planet to put these aliens on. And that's how they seeded the universe. And they did this because once they reached the absolute pinnacle of life, they realized they weren't happy. And so they figured they did something wrong. And they're going to de evolve themselves, become their creation, and go out there and see if any of these races they created ever reach back up to godhood. But when they de-evolved themselves, they left the planet running on autopilot, right? And this giant AI computer just called the Well, and it keeps the planet running, and it also runs the universe. And so we wanted the people who are writing the stories for this anthology to have their characters wake up in on Well World in new bodies. Because if you find Well World, you're processed and you're turned into one of the aliens that are the hundreds and hundreds of aliens that are on the planet. And so
Those are
these
the
were human.
original source aliens that created everything else.
Yep, yep. And so they're humans and they have woken up on Well World in a new alien body. And then they have to, in their story, figure out things. But I didn't want them to all have to come up with an idea of a plan of how they ended up on Well World. So I wrote a prologue and an epilogue that had me writing their human characters as refugees from a terrorist attack that end up getting pushed through a gate into Well World. And so I worked with them to write their characters, and I also had to write it in the late Jack L. Chalker's voice so that it fits with the other books in his series. So I built these bookends, one that shows how they all got to Well World, and the epilogue is what legacy did they leave on Well World later on in the series. So it stopped being an anthology and became more of a mosaic novel with us all working together to tell a singular story, but in several vignettes.
Okay. So it's kind of like if for instance you took Robert Edgar Wagner's Conan series, but he's dead. So you took his mythology and you created your own stories based off that. Is it something kind of along those lines?
Yeah. The most contemporary example that a lot of people know is George R. R. Martin's Wild Card series, which
Okay.
is about a bunch of superheroes.
Well, everybody knows of his Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it knows him for Game of Thrones, but I understand that it's possible that Wild Cards is going to get adapted here soon too. But what they do is
I
they
hope
set
they
up a
don't ruin
story.
the ending.
Yeah, there is no ending to Wild Cards as of yet.
That was the
So
problem with Game of Thrones. There's no ending to Game of Thrones. So
Yeah,
the writers just made up their own and were like, that wasn't good. Even George R.
right.
Martin just says that wasn't good.
No, no. How could it be, right? They're extrapolating and making guesses based on something he hasn't even written yet. Um, so we tried to stay away from that ourselves. We set this right after there's 10 books in the Well World series. We set this after the first one, between the first and the second books. So it would fit neatly in there. But yeah, this was an exciting project. I had to build a Bible that explained both the real world outside of Well World that their characters would be interacting with. They could build a backstory, and then I had to then build basically a glossary of all the known aliens on the planet, and that came to almost
Are they
two.
all kind of the same? Like the human race is like we're all pretty much we're all the same. We've just like slightly adapted to different environments. We have different skin colors and eye types and so on. Is it kind of like that? Like they're all kind of the same race, but like in different
No.
variations? No?
No, no. Some of these are so very alien as to be unrecognizable as anything close to humans. The Markovians, who are the omnipotent aliens, they looked kind of like giant beating hearts walking on stalks. Um, a lot of our mythology was based on aliens that escaped Wellworld and ended up on our planet. Things like centaurs and fairies and mermaids and things of that nature. A couple of them snuck through, and that's what created those legends on our planet. So you see a lot of adaptation to mythological creatures. But then there's also like one of the stories is about a basically a sentient blob
Right.
that can connect to other sentient blobs, and they can form a giant sentient blob together, right? It's
Okay.
a hive mind sort of thing. Um, Sort of like the gnomes in Gravity Falls. So if you watch Gravity Falls, but uh, and that's just the carbon base. There's a whole nother half of the planet that is non-carbon based, and basically there's an alien species that looks like paint, right?
Okay.
Like it's paint. It's not even. There's no form. It's just drifts and changes colors and things. So
I know
yeah,
Neil deGrasse Tyson, they were talking to him, and he's like saying the thing that would be the most surprising to him is if we found aliens with DNA, because DNA is a human thing. And he's like, the most realistic representation of an alien race I've seen is the movie The Blob, because it looks nothing like a human being.
right.
Like often Hollywood makes a mistake where everything's got to be like basically a human being in a suit.
Right. And Jack, when he created Well World, didn't want to be limited by the the overall idea that, all aliens are bipedal, and have eyes and noses and faces, on their face in the same place, and so forth. There's so much variation. And in his time, as much as 10 novels that he wrote of Well World, he still didn't even come close to identifying all the species on the carbon-based side. So there's a lot of room for growth there. We've talked about the possibility of opening it up to having other authors create original aliens that feel like they were aliens that Jack would have created. But there's a species that's very much based on the Yeti legends and Mothmans and giant bats and everything. But then there's, sentient
What's the original
beavers.
creator's name?
Jack Chalker,
Okay.
Jack L. Chalker.
Is he pretty well known, like for creating?
He was at the time. I mean, all the books were bestsellers. They did really, really well. He had a very devout following. But, when an author passes, unless somebody picks up the torch, a lot of times they get lost in all of the new stuff that comes
Yeah,
out.
they kind
I
of
mean,
fade into obscurity. Yeah,
yeah,
this is like
exactly.
Lovecraft or Poe.
Yeah, yeah. And there are people who pick up those torches. I'm a Lovecraftian author as well. I do Cthulhu stories, some on my own and some that I co-write with an author named Toby Fairman. And so, yeah, I mean, um, there are places where people pick up the torch. Pulp Heroes, for example, right? I just kickstarted earlier this year a Green Hornet anthology, and that
Okay.
is an anthology and not a mosaic. And I had people like Timothy Zahn, Kevin J. Anderson, Bill Willingham, uh, Keith DeCandido, a lot of really good authors wrote Green Hornet stories because there's still an audience. And it's the 90th anniversary coming up of Green Hornet. So yeah, I do a lot of old pulp characters that have gone public domain or that somebody is still doing the rights for, like Phantom or whatever, right?
I was always a huge Shadow fan, so I love the Shadow. And
Yeah.
I've read a lot of the original, like it was Walter Gibson, but under the pen name Maxwell Grant. He wrote
Yeah.
like a lot of the original pulp magazine stories. And I know he's paid by the word, so I know he puffed out a lot of it, but I thought like the core idea of it was like cool. And like aside from like say the slight DC comics iteration of it, a lot of people just they don't seem to grasp it.
Yeah, well, the pulp heroes were a very interesting time because you didn't have the comics code, first of all. So there was a lot more violence and sex
Right.
in those days. Um, and second of all, they're not powered for the most part, right? You'll find a couple that have some powers, but for the most part, they're made men and women,
Or they
right?
have a very subtle power, like just slight power. Yeah.
So one character that I've written a couple of times is called the Black Bat.
Okay.
And Black Bat was a lawyer, Tony Quinn, who had acid thrown in his face by a mobster who he was trying to prosecute. He was blinded. Well, as we know the mythology, your other senses start picking up when you're blinded. So he
Right.
started.
That's the whole Daredevil thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and we'll come to that. So it's very much the Daredevil kind of idea, except that this woman shows up in his office and says, I can give you your sight back, but if you do, you have to promise me that you're going to use it to fight the mob who killed my father, whose these eyes are his, right? And he agrees. And so he gets his sight back, but when he does, he can see both perfectly in the day and perfectly at night. There's no difference between day and night for him, right? And so he puts on a bat suit and runs around rooftops fighting the mob. But during the day, he still pretends to be a blind lawyer to throw
Kind
off people to
of
his
like Daredevil. Yeah.
and so what you have with the Black Bat is you have the origin of two different characters, Batman and Daredevil. And Batman came out 1 year after Black Bat did, and there was a huge lawsuit. And that lawsuit got settled.
Well,
Um,
I know Batman stole a lot from the Shadow too. Like that first issue of Batman is
mhm.
basically a direct ripoff of the Shadow.
Yeah, they definitely mined a lot of different things. But
Mine's a very
yeah,
that term.
but with Batman, there's a reason why he's never had superpowers, right? Because the Black Bat has superpowers. That was his forte, and then Batman could exist as long as he didn't have superpowers, and that's how they settled the suit, right? But as Batman went on to bigger and better things, Black Bat became public domain. Nobody kept up the rights, and now it's available for anybody to write stories. But a few publishers will write really good professional level stories. Moonstone, who I do a lot of writing and editing for, is the publisher I've done Black Bat for. I know IDW did a Black Bat series for a comic series where they modernized him, but it lost a lot of that pulp and pushed more into the ultra violent, almost a Spawn-like series.
Yeah, I
Uh,
feel like that's what they've done with a lot of the pulp heroes, like Garthiennes in the Shadow. It's like that's Garthiennes' Shadow. That's not the classic Shadow.
Right. Yeah. And what's crazy is like some of the female pulp heroes that nobody ever really talks about anymore. Like Domino Lady, who was a socialite whose DA father was killed by the mob. That's
I've never even
generally,
heard of her. Yeah.
yeah. And she runs around in basically a silk negligee, a silk nightie with a diamond shaped mask fighting crime at night.
Okay.
Um, and then there's the Golden Amazon, who is absolutely 1000% the inspiration for Wonder Woman. Because she was a Golden Amazon that basically had almost all the same powers. And of course, we've seen the movie that showed where the inspiration came from and stuff like that. But you can't
What
help
you
but
mean,
wonder.
the fairly recent Wonder Woman movie?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So.
thought it was great. Yeah.
I didn't like the second one, but I liked
No,
the
the
original one.
1984. Yeah, I didn't like
Yeah,
that too much.
yeah, yeah. But
But
the
the
first
first
one
one
was,
was awesome.
yeah. And here's the thing is, we can trace every one of our modern superheroes back to a pulp hero. Many of them who have gone public domain. There's you got Iron Fist, and before him was the Green Llama, for example.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
There was a pulp version of Sherlock Holmes called Ivy Frost, which, basically is like the bridge between modern Sherlock Holmeses and so forth and so on. And so you can find go back and find pulp connections to almost every superhero,
Okay.
which is awesome. It's like music, right? Like, you love music and you go, oh, I love this band. Well, then you go and you look who inspired the band, who were
Right.
their inspirations. And then you find this whole nother level of music. And then you go back and you go, who were their inspirations? And you go back and you end up in the blues and the jazz era and stuff like that. And you go, oh my God, that's that riff that I heard in this song I really like. They're still doing that riff, 50, 60, 100 years later.
Right.
I was a DJ too at one point, so I love music. I study music quite a bit too. So yeah. So yeah, so like when doing a tribute anthology like this Well World, I mean, there hasn't been new Jack Chalker material since he passed away, right? We now know everything that he wrote. There's nothing left to be published. But that doesn't mean that what he wrote isn't inspirational. Jack's big thing was transformation. He was really big in the idea. Almost every one of his books, without a fault, involves at least one character being transformed into something else. Well World, all the characters except one, ultimately all get transformed into something. And he's got this one, the Quintara Marathon, Demons at Rainbow's Bridge is the first book, and ultimately there's a lot of transformation of characters through that. And so, like, if you go to tvtropes.com and you look up the word transformation under definitions, the third one is everything that Jack L. Chalker wrote.
Do you know if when he originally started, did he plan to be as expansive as it became, or was he just playing a one-off sword and he see where it went?
Well, and that's what happens with a lot of authors. It was supposed to be a one-off, and of course, it did really well, right? And so the publisher's like, give us more of that.
Right.
And so he wrote the first book. It was a standalone. Then he wrote the next uh, two books don't feature the main character from the first book. He introduces a whole new bunch of characters. And the next two books, and he resolves and ends that duality. Then there was some things left hanging. So he goes back and he writes two more books that reintroduces the character from the very first book, teams him up with the characters from the second book, and then wraps up the initial storyline, right?
Okay.
And then he was done until his kid needed braces or something, right? Like, there was a
Mhm.
college tuition or something. So then he wrote three more books called the Watchers of the Well series, where he brought them back. He did some more kind of a little bit of a retro fixing of some stuff he didn't like in the original five books, ended that. And then he did a duality afterwards that features none of the characters. It's a whole new, in fact, he said in the introduction, it's basically starting Wellworld all over again, right? Because like nothing, they don't really connect with the other eight books in the series, but they are Wellworld books, so it is a 10-book series.
Did you ever read Ringworld?
Wellworld.
No, but have you read the book Ringworld?
Have I?
Leonard Neven. It's a book by Leonard Neven. It's called Ringworld.
Oh, Ringworld. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm actually, my next project I'm working on is with Larry Niven. Uh,
Okay.
I'm doing an anthology of his Gil the Arm Hamilton stories.
Okay.
So Larry's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. This one is set in what's called his known space universe. And it's about a character named Gil Hamilton who works for an organization called the Arm, ARM, and they chase organ leggers in the far future. People will kidnap, like evil people will kidnap people to gut them for organs to sell to rich people, right? And so his job is to chase organ leggers, like bootleggers, but with organs. And he has an accident that he loses his arm, and before he can get a replacement, a cloned arm, he finds that he has a psychic arm, a third arm that he can project, and it can do things like go through walls, it can pick up stuff, and so forth. So he has a cloned arm, a real arm, and a psychic arm, and that's Gil the Arm Hamilton. And it's very detective noir. I got the gig because my first novel, She Murdered Me with Science, is sci-fi noir, and it very much something that I also like. Pulp heroes. I love noir. I love mysteries and so forth, and you can combine them with science fiction, and it's wonderful. Movies like Outland and so forth, where you mix that sci-fi and mystery elements.
Yeah, I love when they mix a bunch of stuff together. Like, did you read Snow Crash?
Yeah, Snow Crash.
So
Yeah.
Snow Crash is like great because he mixes some mythology, he mixes some like a whole bunch of different genres all come together, and like when you well, it just makes sense. Is I think it's like a revolutionary approach.
My forte is cross genre for the most part. Like if people say, what does Dave Boop write? He writes cross genre, right? So
Mhm.
sci-fi noir was my first book. I did a paranormal horror as my second book. It's only available online. But my third book is a weird Western. And this is also a mosaic, but without bringing in other authors. All the stories are written by me, but they're all vignettes. They're all singular stories that tell a single narrative, right? So each chapter, you don't know what you're going to get, but at the end of the book, you'll realize that all of these things were a thread to build to a big two-part finale, what I like to call a TV series in book form. And I have science fiction westerns in here. I have horror western, I have fantasy western, and I even have a western noir in here. So,
Okay.
um,
I know Merrill David, who puts out the series Awake Awake. He did anthology series. It was like Western horror. So it's actually called Tumble Bleed, like
yeah.
tumbleweed. And so I did a story there, and like because I'm a big sci-fi guy too, I do like a cowboys versus aliens thing. But in
Mhm.
this case, the aliens were the good guys, the cowboys
Right.
were the bad guys. But I really enjoyed that. So I love when people like mix genres together. They come up with
So
something new.
So I'm also an anthologist, and as I've mentioned, I do anthologies. My first three anthologies were weird Western anthologies, straight out
Okay.
of Tombstone, straight out of Deadwood, and straight out of Dodge City. And
Okay.
I brought in a lot of big name authors like Jim Butcher, and again, Kevin J. Anderson, Alan Dean Foster, Charlene Harris, Joe Lansdale, so many in that
Oh
series.
yeah,
Really,
I
really
met
big.
Joe Lansdale not too long ago. He was at the Texas AuthorCon. He's such a nice guy.
Oh, amazing guy and a hell of a writer. Did you ever see Bubba Hotep?
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah, right. He wrote that,
Yeah,
right?
no, I know. Yeah.
And Hap and Leonard, that series, Southern Gothic stuff. Well, yeah, he gave me a great story for there. And then the first one, straight out of Tombstone, actually hit the national bestseller list. It's my
Okay.
best-selling book to date.
That's what it calls
And
straight out of Tombstone.
straight out of Tombstone,
Like
yeah.
straight out of Compton, but it's
It,
Tombstone.
yep, exactly. Yeah, always wanted to get Val Kilmer, get a picture of Val Kilmer with the book, right? But never
That
got a
would have
chance.
been great. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Straight Outta series, three volumes, they're available from Baen Books, Baen, Baen Books. And then I went on to do three volumes of space westerns. So
Okay.
think of like your Firefly or The Expanse
I
or things
love
like that.
Firefly. I've seen both The Expanse and Firefly.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
and I saw the movie Serenity, which kind of ties together everything in Firefly.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
And
I heard how they mangled, like, Firefly actually was doing well, but because of like some weird corporate transfer, it got canceled. And
well,
everybody's like, dude,
mostly it
why would
was
you cancel that?
Yeah, mostly it was due to the fact that they showed the episodes out of order, and people
Uh,
who aren't geeky, nerdy, dorky people like us and are willing to sit through anything, even if it's out of order.
yeah.
I remember my anime days. It's like, oh, we get four episodes of a series halfway through the series, and we're still loving it. We'll get those other episodes later,
Right.
right? And it was like that. We were willing to sit through Firefly because we loved the concept, but the general public who come into something like that, something science fiction or fantasy or whatever,
You know
they
what?
need more of a
Side
linear
diversion.
story.
Side diversion, real quick. You know what Firefly kind of reminded me of was
Hmm.
the first series, Battlestar Galactica. Not the second one, but the first one, where it was kind
Yeah,
of like, it was like astronauts in space with all these different fucking worlds. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, you're not wrong. And the old BGS, has a place near and dear in my heart. That was back in my day, when you could count the number of science fiction releases on one hand in a year.
It's
Uh,
true. I've probably seen all the original Battlestar Galacticas. Well, I like the new series too.
yeah, I didn't like it at first, but the more I watched it, the more I got into it,
Okay.
because I stopped comparing it to the original, right?
Right.
Once I got past like the original miniseries in the first season, got into second season, it's like, yeah, no, okay, now I'm starting to see it. Now I'm starting to feel it, right? So yeah, but I love working, bringing some of this old stuff back, like Wellworld, like Gil the Arm Hamilton, pulps, weird westerns, space westerns, all of that. This is the stuff I grew up on. This is the stuff that inspired me to dream.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be a filmmaker. That didn't work out. And 20 or 30 careers later, and a few degrees thrown in for good measure, I landed in being an author and an anthologist.
Right.
And I also teach and tutor on the side privately. And it's a chance to take all of those dreams I had in my childhood and bring them forward into a new generation, using my voice now. What are the things that I want to say in my work,
Right.
about anything, right? So yeah, we all put authors put a well, as you well know, we all put a little piece of our soul in everything
Okay.
we create, right? And so when when somebody picks it up, we're basically asking somebody to approve of us, this little piece of us that we're sharing with you, right? Which is so dangerous, right? It's really dangerous to do that because it's like when somebody doesn't like something you've done, it feels personal, and it's not. It's just you didn't write the thing that connected with them, right? But there's
Yeah, I've learned to take that in stride. Like in the early days, I was like, what is wrong with you? Why do you like this? What was it? And then after a while, it's like, well, everyone has different tastes.
right.
Just take it
Yeah.
for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm out there promoting for permutations because a lot of Jack's fan base has died off, unfortunately, and we're trying to connect with a new audience, and especially with this idea of transformation because it's such a hot button topic right now. And Jack's daughter Samantha is writing for us, and transformation is a big thing for her as well. A lot of the authors that I brought in are very much in support of trans rights and things of that nature. So here's a guy who was promoting transition, transforming, you know, decades ago, 60 some odd years ago, right? 60, 50, and not that far back. Late 70s, early 80s, right? And planting a seed in a lot of us readers that say, hey, guess what? You can find peace, you can find yourself through transformation. I mean, writing is all about transformation, even if it's not a physical transformation, it's a transformation of character. If there's no chaos, there's no transformation. If there's no transformation, there's no story, right?
I think a lot of people have gotten more open to the idea of like just let people be people. Like it seems like there's some like I know my parents are like this. It's like there's a right way and there's a wrong way, and if you're not like this, then that's the wrong way. It's like not necessarily. It really as long as you're not like hurting other people and fucking them over, do your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, we're starting this movement. We call it the Hack the Well, hashtag Hack the Well. And I'm going to be building a platform around this where we're going to have user groups and things for people to talk about transformation and so forth. Right now, it's just in its infancy. We just have right now we're working on some videos. They're really freaking cool, where we're taking the authors and we're actually transforming them into their character. I have
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, I have an amazing creature designer, and she takes the author's photo, and then she creates the character from their story, and then she morphs them, and then there's an audio, about a minute of audio of the author or a voice actor reading the opening of the story, right? But that's just the beginning. We've got long goals for this. So yeah, this is not a project that's gonna go away anytime soon.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to keep you here all night, but how can people get a hold of you? How they find you? Do you have a website?
I do. So, davidboop.com, just simple as that, davidboop.com. No spaces, no breaks, no nothing. And that site's currently in development. I own a company called Long Shot Productions, and it's the same site, but you can look up Long Shot Productions and you can find me there. I'm on all the social medias under David Boop. I'm not hard to find because I'm always promoting or something. But I'm on the Facebook, I'm on the Blue Sky, I'm on the Instagram, I'm on the X, I'm on the I hey, notice I did not dead name Twitter. So yeah, Threads,
Everyone
TikTok,
calls it Twitter still. Like
yeah,
I just
Tik,
can't get used to calling it X.
yeah. So it's Twitter, yeah. So I'm on just about all of them. There's some newer ones that nobody I know is on it, so I'm not there yet. But as soon as somebody famous enough makes it important to go there, I'll probably be there too. Because
Are
that's
you
what
on
I have.
TikTok?
What's that?
Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, yeah, I'm on
You
TikTok.
do the
That's where
dances?
you can see the transformation video there. You can see some book trailers that I've made as well, for like the Green Hornet project. My first degree was in commercial production, so I can produce my own videos and things of that nature. I got to get better at doing like what they call them, open box openings, where like when your new book arrives, you open it up and you show everybody your new book. I haven't done that
Yeah,
yet.
there's always something new.
There's always
Yeah.
something. It'll be something else next week, you
And
know.
I wouldn't even hear about it. Then like one of my friends who's like way younger than me will be like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And I'm like, "No." "Oh, this is a hot new thing," and then they'll know all about it.
Six,
But
seven, right? 6, 7, my man. You know, yeah, yeah, that was like big news last week, which means it's already over,
of
right?
course, yeah,
Like anytime the news covers it, it's already over at
right,
that.
right.
So,
Over
mhm.
by like 10 steps, or like 10 steps forward in the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was funny because somebody was saying that, I forget who was saying it, that Facebook is eventually going to go the way of MySpace, and and he said that he went back in and
That
he
makes me
logged
feel
into.
old. I had a MySpace account.
Yeah, oh yeah, I loved my MySpace account. And he said, and it was a comedian. He said, I went back and I logged into my old MySpace account. He's like, it was like driving through the
You know, it's
ghetto,
still around.
burning trash cans everywhere with giant ends on them, and
That's kind of
stuff.
cool, though.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, so yeah, you can find me through my website, through social media. I'm not a hard person to find. There's not that many David Boops. One's a doctor and he gets tired of people asking when his next novel's coming out. So, but then I keep getting tired of being asked to do orthopedic surgery. So, I only did that once and it didn't go well. So,
Be like, sure, I'll try.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I needed the money.
All right, man. So, do you have anything else you want to throw out there for the social sphere? Like, people should check this out. Like, for instance, I
We
heard
talked
that the
about
new
we talked about
Frankenstein movie is good.
Cthulhu. We talked about Cthulhu. My latest short story is in an anthology called Cthulhu
Uh,
Fakan,
I
and
can tell from the tentacles right off. Yeah.
yeah, and it's an anthology of what happens when you run a science fiction convention over a hellmouth, and the old ones decide they want to come to the con. So there's that one as well. But permutations, man, it is amazing stories, stories that will break your heart, stories that will make you cheer for joy, laugh, everything. All the stories are phenomenal, amazing
And
levels.
that's an anthology. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a mosaic novel, but it's
Okay.
Permutations, a Well-World mosaic novel. And
And is it
that's
available everywhere, like
everywhere.
Amazon,
Yeah.
Barnes? Like I like to
Well, I
say,
mean,
wherever five books is sold.
it's a small press. Arc Manor is the publisher. Out there, they're an East Coast publisher. Shahed Mahmood is the publisher, and Arc Manor. They publish a whole bunch of people like Harry Turtledove and S.M. Sterling and others. But he republishes Jack Chalker's estate, so we had to do all of this through the estate. So as a small press, you don't get into Barnes and Noble unless you're doing massive print runs.
Right.
But it can be ordered through Barnes and Noble,
Right.
Books a Million, or anywhere. It's available digitally through Kindle, Kobo, Nook, and all of those. So obviously, Amazon is the easiest place to find it. But yeah. So it's a great book. I highly recommend it. Go out there and then, send me a note on social media and tell me what you thought of it.
Okay. Awesome, man. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. Do you
Oh,
have
thank you for
anything else you
having
want
me.
to throw
This
out
is
there?
awesome. Yeah, this is awesome, man. And I'll let you know when I get my tattoo finished. Uh, yeah, I'll come back on. You can see it. So, all right.
Yeah, it's looking good so far. And yeah, when you're about to release something else, definitely let me know.
Okay, sounds good, man.